Welcome back, everyone. In today's Explainer, we're diving into something that is profoundly beautiful, yet entirely ordinary. We spend so much of our daily lives obsessing over hustle culture, success, pure logic, and just plain survival. But today we are exploring the philosophy of human warmth. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's unpack why this quiet, everyday force is literally what makes human life livable. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Is it actually possible to be completely loved but still feel entirely unloved? It sounds like a paradox, right? But we often just assume that if someone loves us, say they pay the bills, they're fiercely loyal, they do all the right things, that we're automatically going to feel cherished. But what if all of that structural, dutiful love is there, but the warmth is just missing? This really challenges our baseline assumptions about what genuine human connection needs to actually thrive. Our source material really hits the nail on the head here with this idea. Affection is the quiet warmth by which one human being tells another that they are not merely present in the world, but personally dear within it. I absolutely love that. It perfectly establishes the philosophical and emotional anchor for everything we're talking about today. Affection is that magic ingredient that shifts you from being, just a piece of furniture in someone's life to being deeply personally cherished. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the meaning of affection. So, to really get a grip on this, we've got to draw a clear line between love and affection. Love, in the grand, sweeping sense, is so often about deep commitment, duty, and sacrifice. Honestly, you can love someone from 1,000 miles away, or you can love someone purely out of a sense of moral obligation. But affection is the warmth. Think of it like this. If love is the rock-solid foundation of a house, affection is the fire in the fireplace that actually makes that house warm enough to live in. Simply put, affection is what makes love felt. And you see, affection is so much more than just some fleeting, mushy emotion. It is literally the soul's soft recognition of another person's value. It's a highly philosophical recognition, but delivered gently. When you show affection to someone, whether that's remembering how they take their coffee, using a gentle tone of voice, or just shooting them a quick text to check in, you are recognizing their inherent human dignity. You're taking that massive concept and communicating it softly. Moving right along to section 2, why we need warmth. Let's be real here. We are profoundly dependent creatures. We don't just need food, water, and shelter to survive. We absolutely require emotional nourishment and a deep sense of belonging. And what's super fascinating here is this concept of embodied care. Long before our brains even process the words someone is saying, our bodies are reading the room. We read smiles, we register the tone of a voice, we physically feel the safety of someone's presence. These are tangible signs that we are genuinely welcomed into a space, not just quietly tolerated. We are literally hardwired for this kind of vulnerability. And honestly, this ties directly into our core self-worth. Even as highly functioning, hyper-independent adults, so many of us walk around carrying this undeclared longing of the inner child. We're quietly asking, am I lovable? When an adult seeks out a gentle word or reassuring touch, they're often just carrying that lingering childhood need to be emotionally held and validated. Now, affection doesn't magically create our worth. That's already there, but it absolutely helps us feel the worth that we already possess. Which brings us to a slightly heavier topic in section 3, the wound of absence. I want you to really consider this reality. A person can be fully provided for and still feel completely starved if affection is absent. This perfectly captures the deep, aching pain of emotional deprivation. You see this all the time in families or relationships where care exists, but only as a cold, rigid duty. The bills are paid, the meals are cooked on time, the boxes are checked, but the emotional climate is just freezing. It's a profound type of neglect that leaves a person's soul feeling entirely unwanted, despite being cared for. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast between healthy affection and manipulative affection. Healthy affection fully respects your freedom. It builds a zone of emotional safety. But when tenderness gets twisted into a tool, it becomes a cage. Think about the silent treatment, or warmth that is strictly conditional, given as a shiny reward and suddenly withdrawn as a punishment. That is absolutely not genuine care. That's a tactic designed to put someone in emotional debt. It's essentially control, just wearing a really nice mask. And because of those exact kinds of wounds, a lot of people are actually terrified of affection. And we really need to empathize with this. When someone bristles at warmth, it's not that they hate affection itself. Actually, scratch that. They probably crave it. What they fear is the immense vulnerability that warmth demands. If kindness has been weaponized against them in the past, they naturally develop this deep suspicion of it to protect themselves. That emotional guardedness you see, it's not coldness, it's just a shield. Okay, let's pivot a bit to Section 4, Cultural and Practical Application. It is super fascinating to look at all of this through a specific cultural lens. Take Filipino culture, for example, which has these incredibly rich, distinct ways of expressing affection. You have lambing, which is this unique blend of sweetness, gentle teasing, and just asking for tenderness. Then there's pag-alaga, which is deeply devoted caregiving, and pasalubong, the act of bringing home gifts or souvenirs, which is essentially saying, hey, I remembered you while I was out. It brilliantly shows how affection is woven into everyday actions, feeding people, checking in, and doing these little things that indirectly say, I am keeping you near to my heart. But then, contrast that deep, everyday warmth with our modern, highly efficient society. We can fire off 100 heart emojis in 10 seconds. Yet somehow, society has rarely felt colder. We so often treat people as just profiles on a screen, or cogs in a machine, rather than actual humans who desperately need respect and psychological safety. Look, digital affection is great for staying connected, but it simply cannot replace the depth and gravity of real human presence. A society can be technologically brilliant and yet remain tragically bankrupt when it comes to actual felt affection. Let's dive into our final part, Section 5, Mastering Mature Affection. The whole crux of this is that true affection wants closeness, but absolutely not captivity. We have got to respect boundaries. Affection is completely null and void if it morphs into emotional ownership or clinginess. Mature affection is amazing because it loves the freedom of the other person even more than it loves the feeling of having them close by. It's meant to comfort you, not imprison you. So how do we actually pull this off? How do we give affection well? Step 1, offer thoughtful presence. Put the phone away, look them in the eye, and truly listen. Step 2, care without demanding an immediate return on your investment. And step 3, which is probably the most vital, give your warmth as a totally free gift, not a debt. To give affection well means offering it sincerely and respectfully without secretly asking the other person to pay you back with their freedom. But hey, on the flip side, receiving affection ethically is just as important, and honestly, sometimes way harder. It requires immense courage. You have to push past that inner shame, choose to trust tenderness over suspicion, and finally allow yourself to believe, even for just a second, that you genuinely deserve to be cherished. You have to accept that you are worthy of warmth, no strings attached. At the end of the day, to be a truly affectionate human being is to embody tenderness without weakness, warmth without control, and care without self-erasure. It absolutely doesn't mean being a pushover. In fact, true tenderness requires incredible strength, completely disciplined by wisdom. It's about letting your own humanity become warm enough that others finally feel safe standing near it. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want this core argument to sink in. Affection tells the self, I am not invisible in your heart. True human flourishing demands so much more than just crushing your goals or merely surviving. It requires this gentle, quiet recognition. Affection is quite literally the thing that takes the heavy, complicated burden of being human and makes it livable. And not just livable, but beautiful. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question for you. How will you make the world a little less cold today? Just a simple message, a warmer tone of voice, you have the sheer power to offer someone the quiet warmth of recognition right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you take this philosophy out into the world today. See you next time.